This is the 332nd Battle Pack, and today I'm finally making an alternate build out of this using 4 sets. And I know I'm a little behind on this set, it came out almost 2 months ago, but I just kept getting sidetracked by so many other projects. I did my Jedi Temple, and then I did the clone mechs, and then I found the gunship early, and then I had to mod the gunship, and then the ghost came out, and then I had to mod that. But finally, here we are, after almost 2 months with an alternate build in hand. So, without 2 more months of delay, I'm happy to finally show you guys the OTAS. The Open Transport Attack Speeder, complemented nicely with a few side builds to make up a small 332nd base. Making this alternate build was a lot of fun, but one thing I was consistently struggling with was the name. So I turned to my patrons who gave me some good inspiration and actually helped me name this alternate build. And they also get sneak peeks of some alternate builds before they come out, so if you're interested in that kind of thing, head over to my Patreon. But now, let's dive into this alternate build, starting with this small 332nd base. Now I'm just calling it a base because it's a big cluster of side builds that kind of make up a defensive position. I didn't really design it with a base setup in mind. All these were made with leftover parts after I completed the speeder, so it might be a little bit rough around the edges as well. First up on the side builds, we have this small defensive barrier. It's a very simple build just made up of plates with these larger rounded bricks to make up the armor plating. And then in the middle, just underneath this dish piece, I have 2 stud shooters mounted. They aren't meant to be used as actual weapons. It's just kind of meant to look like cool detail or some sort of greebling. Next, we have this small cluster of smaller side builds. On this left side, we have these stud shooter turrets that are almost unchanged from the original set. Instead of using a Technic pin in that tile on the bottom, we're instead just using one rounded plate on top that the stud shooters slot into. In the middle, we have 2 Jet Trooper launch pads, which are very simple builds, both of them being made up of 2 pieces each. And I wasn't initially going to include them, but once I figured out their purpose, I kind of fell in love with them during play. I like to imagine that the Jet Troopers can stand onto these launch pads, and then it gives their jetpack a huge boost when they're taking off. That way they can go much faster for a short duration on deployment and also go much farther. And then finally, off on the right here, these 2 builds can really be anything. I've been using this one as a shield generator, even though this one looks more like a shield generator. This one just looks cooler, so I've been using it a lot more. And then this one can be like a power cell or a bunch of trash or something. But now that we finished up with this small group, we can move behind them and head into my favorite side build, the turret. And the turret has been surprisingly fun. It very quickly became my favorite little side build. It's built on a very simple rounded base with a railing on the front here, and then the turret itself is actually utilizing 3 stud shooters as the actual cannons. And the connection is a little fragile if you're actually trying to shoot the studs out, but I don't really do that. I just kind of like how they look. I don't actually utilize the stud shooter feature, so it works for me. And then clipped onto the grip of these 2 outermost stud shooters, we have a tiny bit of armor plating. And then on the gunner's side of the turret, we can get him out of his chair, and I did try and make some small sort of control panel. It is just made up of 2 translucent studs offset on some jumper plates, but this set doesn't actually have any control panels, so this is the best we're going to get. But I think the most important part to mention about this turret is that it has full 360-degree rotation. And with that small bit on the turret that pretty much covers all the side builds that make up the small 332nd base, now we can move on to the speeder itself. And I have come up with a little bit of lore behind the OTAS and how it came to be in the actual Star Wars universe, but we'll save that for the end of the video. For now, we'll check out the features. The Open Transport Attack Speeder is a small armored speeder that can ferry 6 troopers plus its pilot, and it also doubles as a small gunboat with posable cannons on the front and sides, allowing you to hit targets in almost any direction. They actually have different backs? I did not know that. Half my jet troopers probably have jetpacks on the back. Let's find out. Let's find out. I just found out that the 332nd troopers have 2 different torso prints in this set. So okay. Oh, I didn't even have it on camera. This guy has a regular torso. Who's got a jetpack? Someone show me jetpack. But these guys have jetpacks. So I'm willing to bet like half of my jetpack troopers actually have jetpacks on them already. What the hell? Let's try another one. Let's see what happens. Oh crap. Yep, bingo. I had no idea. I should really pay attention to instructions more. But guess what? I ain't gonna fix it. The front is smoothed out and armored up using plenty of these larger sloping pieces, and it's got 2 of the posable cannons that I mentioned on either side, and each side does fold open for easy access to the pilot and gunner seats up front. And then on the back side of this front armor plating, I did make another small control panel using 2 more of those translucent light blue studs. And then just behind the pilot seat, we have a little bit of blaster storage using 2 of those jumper plates, with even more in the rear, so this speeder is absolutely covered in weapons. And then just behind this front group of seats, we have these 2 seats back to back in the middle, and these are the only 2 seats that are actual passengers. Everyone else on the speeder is going to be controlling something or doing something, but these 2 guys are actually just sitting along for the ride. So naturally, this is where the high-ranking commanders go. Two passengers are going to be well protected with a little bit of triangular armor plating on the outside. And this armor plating does have another clip attached, so you could theoretically attach one more blaster on either side, but I use it for a little bit more of a fun idea. Sometimes this speeder finds itself in special situations, and in the lore I've created in my head and when I'm playing with this set, more than once the Republic has cleared out the inside of this speeder to quickly create an elevated sniper position that's also mobile. And then that weapon clip on either side will allow the sniper to mount their weapon inside to get a steady shot and take out their target. But that's just a fun little idea I had when I was playing with this speeder one day. You can totally still store a small blaster in this speeder when the clones are actually in it, as long as you don't mind it laying over one of their laps. But moving on from the passenger seats and the sniper stabilizer, we get into the two final gunner seats of this speeder. And these gunners are back to back just like the passengers in the middle, but they're spaced out a tiny bit more to make space for some of that blaster storage that I mentioned earlier. And all the gunner seat weapons are just put into some Technic pins, so they're loose enough that you can rotate them easily, but it's not loose enough that they're just going to fall out. And those are just put into those 1x2s with the Technic pinholes, and then a tiny bit of armor plating using that slope brick in the tile next to it. And then moving back from these gunner seats, we can check out these two forks sticking out of the rear of the speeder, because these are actually the engines and they house all the power systems for the entire vehicle. And they also have even more blaster storage on top. And I gotta say guys, the engines are absolutely my favorite part of the entire alternate build. I just love the way that these came together. These builds just look amazing to me. I desperately wanted these to be on the front side of the speeder, but I just couldn't figure out a build that complemented these well, so maybe I'll have to revisit that in the future. But the engines and power systems are well protected with plenty of slope bricks on the outside to provide armor plating, as well as a few tiles here or there. And then on the underside of the engines, I did add a few more translucent light blue studs to represent the thrust that these engines are generating when they're sending the speeder through the air. Along with these 1x2 clips that are only there as structural support so the backside of these engines don't sag down. And looking at it, I guess you could have these blasters in the back be controlled by the pilot, but you'd be cutting it really close on the friendly fire. You'd have to make sure everybody's leaning back as far as possible with their hands out of the way, and even then you might shoot your own gunner in the back of the head. So I think I'll just keep that as storage for now. But with that, that pretty much covers the entire OTAS, as well as the entire alternate build. I'm half tempted to call this the OTAS Battle Pack, because it's effectively a small little set with all these side builds and then the main vehicle. So that being said, I have PDF building instructions for the OTAS Battle Pack available on my Patreon page right now. Let me know what you guys think of this alternate build down below, and let me know of any other ideas and suggestions you have using the 332nd Battle Pack. Because I know I'm 2 months late this time, but I'd like to make more videos centered around this set. And I just noticed, as usual, I forgot to talk about the lore during the video, so I'll just drop that down in the description below. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.